Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the No Holds Barred Wrestling Podcast. I'm Bobby Melendez, joined by my tag team partner, Josh Kimmel. And today's episode, we are highlighting Kurt Angle and his Sinister Six. Welcome you guys to the show. Maria already in the comments. Everyone just joining in. We appreciate you. FTSN, hit that like and subscribe button. Josh, my man, it's been a week. What a week. How are you?
Family is hanging in there, one day at a time. It was a nice cold week here in Florida. It's hot again, so screw you, climate, whatever. But wrestling is not as hot as it was at this time last year, so we're not struggling to find things to talk about, but because we have some great topics. But man, let me tell you, these shows, I don't know what to say about them. I'm not interested. I'm losing interest in these shows.
I've been reading a lot, and that's great that you bring that up because I've been reading a lot online on the interweb on X, with the the IWC. They're like, oh man, the Vince era was so much better than the Triple H era. Who would have thought that Triple H was going to be worse than Vince Russo and Vince McMahon? And I'm frightened, no one's going to talk about Vince Russo. Come on, let's be realistic, but I can understand if you're going to argue maybe Attitude Era Vince, Ruthless Aggression Era Vince, maybe Golden Age Era Vince. Okay, maybe we have a conversation. But if you're talking the last decade Vince, like Roman Reigns getting dog food and all this extra stuff, you're saying that, you must be smoking something. Okay, everybody has a down thing. It's always down. It's when it's really high, it's not always going to stay high. It's going to kind of get low again and then pump it back up, right? I mean, is Triple H in the territory of McMahon? Is he under McMahon? At least the last decade.
No,
Vince?
listen. He came out. It was so hot at one point, and it's so hard for it to get that hot again. Now we're still better than the Vince era. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. This is miles ahead of anything Vince did in the past 10 years. It's just Logan Paul comes out, fakes like he's a baby face. It's just the same. Like, who saw this coming? Everybody. It's just not. It's predictable again. That's all. But we're not here to complain about New Age. We do have some new stuff we're going to talk about real quick. But we're here to talk about the main topic at hand, Bobby. The main topic at hand, and that's streaks. Because your boy, your guy, Oldberg, is complaining that WWE had some Japanese girl purposely break his streak, possibly. This is just another complaint from Oldberg in 2025, and I honestly do not blame him for the way they treated his retirement match and all that whole situation. He's been bitter ever since, and I do not blame him. But this got me thinking about streaks in general. Goldberg streak. The winning streak was a massive deal in the time of the 90s where they were doing the Monday Night Wars. It's one of the biggest storylines of that era. Streaks are important. Undertaker streak. I'm sure we'll talk about that soon. It's important. Streaks in sports. You have the Joe DiMaggio hit streak. You have the winning streak of sports teams. Streaks are awesome. So it was hard for me. What I wanted to do is go, hey, Bobby, let's talk streaks. So when I was doing my research, Bobby, I was going, what's the difference between a streak and a record? So I'm glad that you actually did mention that in the graphic, but we'll talk about later. But that being said, before we break down all of our streaks and our favorite parts, do you think Triple H or WWE or whoever booked Asuka to be more dominant than Goldberg on purpose, brother?
God, Goldberg. No, dude, come on, man. He's nitpicky. Look, did they do him dirty in his last match with the speech? Yeah, they did. I mean, come on, they had to know better. But did they purposely book Asuka to beat the record because of him? Because they're like, because what he said, if you read his quote, first of all, he never said some Japanese girl. He said some girl. He didn't even add Japanese in it. He goes, some girl. Asuka is some girl. That tells you actually don't pay attention to the show. You don't pay attention to the landscape. Secondly, they did it because, according to him, They did it because he was the champion of WCW while WCW was kicking WWE's ass. And they wanted him to pay for it. Remember, this was in his second run. This was Triple H era. Not really. Vince was still around, but this was Triple H era when I think Paul Levesque was running NXT. They could have thought like, oh wait, man, this would be really cool if she did this because this would make her look better if she was to overpass this record. But the reason why Goldberg was booked at undefeated was not the top anybody's streak or do anything. It was because of his look, it made him look strong. He was built like a Greek god, what you want to call it. And they were like, dude, this guy's dominant. Give him 3 moves, let him do it, let him have this major record, make him look like a real deal thing. Asuka got the streak, her streak, because she's one of the best in-ring competitors in the business between all promotions. So when you have someone like that, and as she's doing that in her division, and it starts to get closer, and they start to go, wait a second, she could pass Goldberg's record. That would be pretty damn cool if she could do that. Let's run that. It's believable. It's believable when she wins. She could win matches. Goldberg, I mean, it looked like he could beat anybody's ass in the ring up until he faced Regal, and Regal embarrassed him. Now he still beat Regal, but Regal showed, hey, wait a second, he can't really do this. So Goldberg, instead of he's just looking for reasons to complain. You say Oldberg, DSG puts Oldberg. That makes Goldberg look very old. It makes him look like a complainer. He's dipping his toe in Bret Hart waters. He complains about everything. So no, WWE did not do that on purpose to hurt him. They're not thinking about him. They may have been thinking about his record going, this would be cool if Asuka did it because Asuka's that good. She deserves a record like this. Now, don't get me wrong. When I say this, I'm not taking anything away from her character right now. She's kind of fallen off a cliff because they haven't been able to book her properly. I like the way they're booking her now. I like how I do. They're making her dangerous. I like it. I like heel Asuka, and I'd like to see that kind of mutate into a singles run. But I do like what they're doing with her now because it feels like it's going to lead to something bigger. So even though they've dropped the ball on her before, they could bring that. They can make her into a heel, a monster heel, and she could always reference, I had this streak. I could do this again because she's believable. Goldberg, when he goes against people that are better to him, we know that's not believable. We know he's strong. We know he could probably, my God, he ended Bret Hart's career with a kick to the head. So we know he could kick pretty freaking hard, but he can't out wrestle you. He wasn't going to go undefeated against these guys who are bigger and stronger than him. But we know Asuka's believable. So no, they didn't do that on purpose. Come on, man.
I know. But it did get me thinking about some streaks in wrestling, and I kept mine to streaks only, not records. It was difficult. So this is the only streak currently that I'm going to bring up that's actually current day. And it's relevant if you think it's relevant. Mercedes Moné is the longest reigning TBS champion in AEW history. She surpassed Jade Cargill, who had it for 508 days. Mercedes now has it for currently, this is the 517th day. So that is a streak of a championship. That I'm just starting small. That's the only active streak that I could think of that is a record at the moment. So I did some research, Bobby. I got some streaks in here you might not know about. So I'm curious to see what you have to bring to the table today.
Well, I mean, the longest reigning TBS champion, 500. Isn't that as long as the championship's been alive? I mean, isn't that how long AEW's been alive? A year and a half or something. I forgot how many years they've been around. I mean, anything's a record for them. It's the same thing as Chelsea Green winning that title. She's the second 2-time champion. And of course she is. It hasn't been around.
The WWE Women's Champion used to hold that title, used to hold that record, the streak. Mercedes broke it.
You see, it doesn't have history to matter.
Mercedes broke it, man.
Come on, brother.
Mercedes broke it.
Come on, brother. Adrian, Rainy Day podcast.
Why you guys hating on Mercedes?
Two Raw for SmackDown. Love the new intro for Two Raw for SmackDown. Earlier today, saw it when I was after basketball practice, and I was out with my son. I got to catch that new intro. I said myself, like, can we go now? Because we were getting out of the car because it's about to drop, dude. The temperature's about to drop, roll over here during the week. And so he loses his jacket. So we have to go trying to scavenge a jacket. And so just shout out to Adrian and his new show that's coming up. I forgot the name right now, but I did see that, South Florida Sports. So greatest streaks and records. You were thinking about current streaks and records.
I just thought I just brought her up first because it is the only current streak that I found that is like the longest streak of that separate department.
Look, in regards, jumping back to Goldberg, because that's one no one can ignore, right? It's that was, even though WCW inflated those numbers, right? Everything you go back, okay, he has 10 wins, and then the next Nitro he has 20 wins. They skipped 10 wins, and so, but it was still one of the most impressive, most cared about streaks in wrestling. So when he got beat for the first time, it was huge, but it was also strongly controversial. It was big. It was very controversial because it was Kevin Nash and the taser and everything else. That's one of the biggest mistakes. If they would have had like Halloween Havoc, DDP, Diamond Cutter, 1, 2, 3 on Goldberg, it would have been major. It would have been huge. But even though WCW padded the stats, so to say, it still was one of the biggest, greatest streaks in wrestling. He beat major superstars. WCW superstars. So it was one of the most famous. It's the same as, again, you can't ignore maybe the greatest streak, which was the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania, one that was greatly ignored for a while. It was 10-0. Nobody was. It wasn't until I think he beat. What was it? He did his fingers. He had short hair. Was it Ric Flair? It wasn't until then when I even paid attention to the streak, and we were like, wait a second, holy crap, he's undefeated. And then it became a life of its own. And there's another one. There's another streak that you could have gave to one of the, again, Diamond Dallas for Goldberg. You could have gave to a Roman Reigns a couple years later. You could have gave to a Bray Wyatt if you would have held on to it. Except you gave it to Brock Lesnar, who did not need it. It still defined him. It still made it huge. It was a shocking moment because of the streak itself. But as another streak that was so controversial. What's another streak for you?
Another streak for me, this one is a Royal Rumble appearance streak. Kane holds the record for the most consecutive Royal Rumble appearances with 13. He also
does he hold the record for eliminations?
No, I don't believe he does
he
anymore.
Used to.
I didn't look up eliminations. I didn't look up records. I looked up his streaks, and I was like, okay, who is in the most?
He does. He has 46. Because I had that on my thing. I don't have it on my list. It was my thing. He has 46 total eliminations.
It's awesome. Kane has been in the most Royal Rumbles in the history of WWE. He's been in 20. And it's just wild to see how long the longevity of Kane isn't talked about enough.
Yeah.
You know how just think about Frank Gore, the running back position.
Yep.
He played for years and years, and they weren't all 1,200-yard seasons. There were a lot of 600, 700-yard seasons with the Colts and stuff as his career was winding down. And that was Kane. Kane didn't have a lot of WWE championship matches and a lot of this and that, but he was on Raw night in, night out, on pay-per-views, in stories, and in the Royal Rumble. So that's hard to do. Obviously, Kane is he's the streak holder for the most consecutive Royal Rumble appearances.
I love that. I think that's really cool. And again, and most eliminations. And you're right. Kane does not get enough recognition for his consistency, his stability. So much so that when he finally disappeared and now he's the mayor of Knoxville, it was noticed. It was like, damn, dude, where's Kane? I think an easy one, and it got mentioned right in the comments that I have here, is Ric Flair and John Cena's title wins. Again, Rick never seen 17. John Cena right now but that would count as the most championships in WWE. Ric Flair was always he said 17-time world champion. Not really. It's another one where people forget that he dropped it overseas and won it back and then come back, but they never recognize those. So those are records that defined a superstar and made an impact on history. So Ric Flair and John Cena's title wins 17 times are up there. And the other one, a title reign, which is Roman Reigns. That's huge. That's a record.
Yep.
You know, again, 1,316 days. Oh, DSG's the troublemaker. Come on, man. No, just playing. But that's another one. And I'm going to give you one. I'm going to give you another one here. Most combined matches in major promotions. Who is it?
Most matches in all promotions?
Most
combined?
Yep. Most combined matches in major promotions. Which wrestler holds that record?
I mean, I couldn't tell. Andre?
No.
I don't know. I have no idea. Bruno?
It's your guy, man. It's your favorite wrestler.
It's Jericho?
That's Jericho. Come on, brother.
Really?
Yeah. WCW, WWE, New Japan, AEW. 4 decades of matches. The only wrestler to win titles, world titles, WCW, WWE, and AEW.
Wow.
So
wow, that's my guy.
Yeah. Bruno held the title of the WWF for 7 straight years.
I got the total days. It was 2,809 or 2,803 days. As WWF
7 years, 8 months.
I got this stat right here. Apparently, this is all of my research. I don't know. I didn't fact check. I didn't watch all the pay-per-views, but Hulk Hogan went on an undefeated pay-per-view event from Mania 1 in 1985 until the WrestleMania in 1990. So 5 years, Hulk Hogan did not lose on pay-per-view television. Here's another streak. Kurt Hawkins lost 269 matches in a row. Streak ended at WrestleMania 35 when him and Zack Ryder beat the Revival for the tag team championships in a pre-show match. That was a fun streak. Remember how over that was?
Mm-hmm.
Gunther broke Rey Mysterio's longest time in the Royal Rumble, 71 minutes, 40 seconds. He did that a couple of years ago. Of course, Gunther's 666-day title reign, beating the Honky Tonk Man. And this one I found the most interesting because I was never a fan of this wrestler. When I was a child, when Tatanka came on my television, I thought this was the worst gimmick in the history of the world. But he was undefeated for 637 days from February of 1992 to October of 1993 before losing to Ludwig Borga. His key matches were he beat Rick Martel at WrestleMania V11. Don't know what that is. He won King of the Ring match against Razor Ramon. And then he had a no contest match with Shawn Michaels, which did not get defeated. I thought that was odd. I never knew Tatanka was getting a huge push.
Oh yeah, man. Tatanka.
I never knew that.
Do you remember when he came back? Like after in the I think was it Ruthless Aggression era? He ended up coming back for a little run. You know, I remember Tatanka, man. Now his kids might be getting involved, and he wants to have a Bloodline versus Native American feud. That's Native Bloodline feud. That's what he said. Saw that recently. That was fun. But no, man, it's really cool. It's really cool to talk about the history of streaks and records for wrestling, and it's crazy that those carry over years later. People still talk about it. He does. His son looks legit. Gunther, the longest reigning IC champion. That's right.
Yep, 666 days.
Really neat. Now let's run it up here. Let's go ahead. I want to run down a couple of topics here from some current events in wrestling. And that is headlines and dirt sheet reports. First one, of course, headline, Chelsea Green winning her second United States Championship against Julia. Josh, what do you think, man?
Sure. Why not? There's nothing else going on with Julia. It's sad when I watch YouTube clips and I'm watching Ethan Page and Chelsea Green highlights with Thea Hale and Joe Hendry, and I don't even know what Julia looks like. So yeah, that's sure. Why not? Chelsea Green's way more over. She
is, and obviously over in the Booker's room as well. So, lost opportunity for Julia for sure. I mean, and she deserves to get more spotlight, but until that comes, Chelsea Green, I mean, no, you can't take away from Chelsea Green. She goes in every promotion, doesn't get a bonus. If you look at the way their contracts are structured, they don't get paid more for going on TNA or NXT or anything, and she's on everywhere. And she's a comedic relief, but she's very good in the ring. She's willing to get beat down and embarrassed. So shout out to Chelsea Green. She's, sorry for Julia because she deserves more, but that doesn't take anything away from Chelsea Green. She absolutely deserves another run. Now she's Chelsea 2 belts. Your boy.
Wait, no, 2. Yeah, just 2. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Because she has what, the AAA tag titles and the United States title with Ethan Page.
With Ethan Page, yeah. See, I'm interested. I'm more interested in NXT than SmackDown as a whole, honestly.
I think everybody is right now, which is crazy to me. And not crazy, like I think everybody's wrong. I just think how SmackDown needs some sort of boost. Something needs to happen to get that going again. Your boy Tony Khan, he had another announcement to make. Breaking, guys, I have another announcement. Make sure you tune in to the latest TNT Dynamite, whatever the hell they call it now, and AEW National Championship. Josh, your thoughts, man? What the heck is this?
Sure. You know what? Sure. Why not? You know what this is? It's the same thing as the international title. It's the same thing as the continental title. Maria, I know you're here. Don't try to defend this. This is nonsense. And he also said, no, I did not say I'm retiring the Continental Championship and the International Championship, even though they're unified, to be the unified championship. Tony Khan's a moron. It's a complete moron. That's it. Sure.
Right.
Have these new titles, have whoever wins it, and then guess what? Whoever wins it is just going to have another title in the background, and nobody cares. AEW is the coldest it's ever been.
Damn. So the John Cena retirement tour or tournament is set. It's begun. LA Knight will face a mystery opponent. Who do you think it is?
I don't know how this was set up. Did I miss this? Was this on Raw?
I think they announced it yesterday.
Oh, on SmackDown? I don't know who the mystery opponent could be. Do you think it'd be a call-up? Like this is more of a your thing, because I don't know. I wouldn't even know.
I know a lot of people are excited. You know, they're throwing Adam Copeland in there because John Cena posted. I know John Cena posted a picture of him and Copeland together, Edge, and honestly, I don't think it's gonna be an NXT guy. Could it be Joe Hendry? That's the safest bet. I think it's gonna be Joe Hendry. I don't know who else. I know he said people from other promotions. John Cena said guys from Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and people who don't work here. It has to be someone who does not work there.
Okay, I got it now. So LA Knight in the turn, yeah, it's going to be Nick Nemeth, but like maybe Santana. I don't think Joe Hendry is going to be in this tournament. I think Joe Hendry's wrapped up with Ethan Page and NXT, and I think that's the focal point. I think that's where he should be focused on. I mean, they could throw Joe Hendry in there. That's fine. But really, the main focus is on that story with Ethan Page. That's where the money's at. But as far as Nick Nemeth would get a massive pop on the main roster, like on a SmackDown or Raw.
Matt Cardona
would also get a massive pop as well. I believe he's going to be in the tournament. I do think he's going to be in the tournament. But, man, it's not going to be Copeland. It's not going to be Jericho. It's not going to be anyone that's under contract with AEW or any other talent. It can only be a TNA or WWE talent. So, I mean,
that maybe, or AAA.
Or AAA. I mean, maybe it could be a legend that comes back, but that'd be kind of lame. Like a legend that, like how deflating would it be if it was a legend that came back who doesn't have a chance. Like,
that's the thing, right? I know somebody posted a picture, like they had a graphic again with Edge, Jericho, some other people, and had Batista there. And I'm like, really think about this. Again, can WWE surprise us, right? Maybe one of these guys get all the way through if that was to happen. But let's be realistic. We know more than likely it's going to be Gunther. And if Batista was to come back, which Batista's not in the shape to do it, he's skinny, he's whatever, and that's great, man. He's a great actor, he kills it. But what, you're going to bring back this guy just so he can lose? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So I think Cardona or, and like I said, Hendry, Nick Nemeth, those are the guys that we could see pop up and be those surprises.
Santana's going to be in this tournament. You got to put
Santana, yeah.
You got to put the World Heavyweight Champion, a TNA World Champion, in that match or in that tournament. You have to.
Yeah. TKO wants to rename Vince name PLEs. Shapiro. Mark Shapiro says that we need to move past Vince McMahon created PLEs. Triple H and Khan created WrestlePalooza, and he thinks it was a big hit. He said it was a big hit, merchandise wise, I guess. So he wants to go ahead and start rebranding PLEs. What's your quick reaction to this?
Got to keep Mania, King of the Ring,
Survivor
Survivor
Series.
Series, Royal Rumble. Like, you got to keep the main ones. I'm okay. I'm 1000% get rid of Money in the Bank. Put that back at WrestleMania. That should be a thing. We should definitely get rid of like Money in the Bank. That's so. I always thought that was so dumb. Put that back at WrestleMania where it belongs. Have the men's on night 1 or whatever. The women's on night 2. Yeah, it's made for WrestleMania, man. So that's fine. Get rid of those. But like, I feel like they already have like Armageddon's not a thing. Like, what other PLEs clash? Like these new clash shows. I guess Crown Jewel is a McMahon thing, but there's not many left besides the big ones.
And that's my thing. The big ones shouldn't be touched. SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Rumble, WrestleMania, none of those should be touched. Like, again, I'm okay with Backlash getting bounced. I'm okay with, like you said, Money in the Bank, Elimination Chamber, Hell in the Cell, Balls of Fire, whatever. Anyway, I'm just throwing names out there. Those are all, to me, I can move up. But again, if you're going to end up changing them to WrestlePalooza or Slim Jim Fest or something, like, no, don't do that. Come on. Let's, unless you just want to be, there's WrestleMania and everything else is like, like UFC is UFC 1 and 200 and whatever. If you do WWE 202, something like that, I don't know, but then that's stupid too. But anyway. And then last but not least, Logan Paul, of course, teased he was a babyface. Nobody believed it. Paul Levesque said Monday night, the landscape is going to change. As much as Tony Khan makes an announcement, there's going to be a special announcement, making a new title. Triple H says something's going to change, a new landscape, big surprises. Logan Paul challenging CM Punk. First off, CM Punk champion, very quick. You and I didn't talk about this. What was your reaction to that?
It's fine. It is what it is. It makes sense. Like, if you think about it, it makes sense. I know the guys on Thursday night were happy. Clutch was super happy. It is what it is. If they work it well, like they are with Logan Paul and this and that, it'll work. It'll work, especially if they're doing what I think they're doing with Cody. I just don't like 2 babyface champions. I think it's so lame. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, again, I get it. I understand it. I think I liked what we proposed before the end of our show last week. If it was no champion, but CM Punk as champion makes sense. I mean, it works. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes from there. But yeah, Logan Paul joining Vision for War Games.
Audible, right? They probably had to make this up. They probably had to figure it out. Well, short notice. Here's what I'm doing. If I'm Triple H, and I know there was never a mention of War Games even promoted. I don't think there still has been. There's still yet to be a mention of War Games. This is getting with the whole Vince thing. You don't need to force a War Games every year if it's not called for. Don't have it. Don't have it. There's no feud right now, currently in the WWE, that calls for a War Games match. Don't have it. Now you're just having it just to have it. So now you're just Vince. I'm not interested. I don't care. I don't care. Logan Paul, War Games should be this is a blood feud leading into the most dangerous match in WWE history. This is going to settle something. Not, he just got here. I don't care, Bobby. And it sucks because they had plans. They had something set up, and one injury messed it all up. So just scrap it. They didn't announce it.
They did. They said Logan Paul was joining War Games. That's what I saw.
Oh, they did say War Games? They did announce it? Okay.
Yeah. I did see a promotion for that. But I understand your point, though. Again, I am a War Games fan because I'm a WCW guy. But I agree. I think, it has to be used on specific times, and, but it's like Survivor Series, right? I would rather, and if brand splits actually were legit, if the brand split like it was back in the day in Ruthless Aggression, if it was Raw versus SmackDown or TNA versus NXT, War Games, that would be cool. Not you get a team and I get a team and we go, no, it has to be like Bloodline versus New Bloodline 2.0 last year, I think it was. That was cool. That makes sense. But something like this where we're just throwing a bunch of guys together just to do it, come on. You know what I mean? It's if it was like, oh, the Wyatt Six versus Bloodline, or Wyatt Six versus whomever, throw a group together, that would make more sense than just throwing a bunch of guys in the same thing. So yeah, but I get it. We'll see how it plays out.
We'll see.
We'll move. Bring back Cyber Sunday. I would love to see Cyber Sunday. That was fun. I remember that. I saw a video on that. We should do a show based off that, because they actually saw, I have to go back and look, but they were talking about Cyber Sunday, how they were like, they would put the guys out there, because I always thought it was rigged, but they were talking about how they put the guys they wanted, and they would put the matches they were okay with, but then they were like, man, I hope they go this way. I hope the fans go this way. Because I remember I would watch those and I go, it'll be Ric Flair and this guy in a cage match. And I was like, oh crap. All right, there we go. And we would vote. I'd vote. I'd do it,
Yeah.
But that was a cool concept. The IWP will show how it's done. Bring back Sunday Night Heat. I love War Games. War Games is still, even again, I understand, like, kind of like, dude, this should be like kind of a story to it, but War Games is fun. It is a fun match. It's a classic. It's nostalgic. I love watching it, but I understand Josh's point on it. Let's get to the main event of the evening, or the afternoon.
Let's do it.
I think everybody knows who my favorite guys are, who I grew up watching, who I love watching, and whatever. Kurt Angle is absolutely one of those guys. Again, the look, the character, like, people go, oh, this guy deserves the world title. This guy, man, he's one of the best in-ring competitors. He could do it all, man. He could do all this. And then you watch him, and he has a microphone, and he's boring. Or he's corny, and he's unbelievable. It's kind of like, no, you want this guy you want this guy being your guy? Or there's a guy who's amazing on the microphone. His character's awesome. You're like, damn, dude, this guy's really cool. I'd love to see him in the main event. And then you get to see him in a match, and you're like, no, I'm good. I'm okay. This guy shouldn't be there. Then you got the total packages. Now, there are some guys that have one set of skills, and the other one has another set, and they do just fine. But there are other ones where Kurt Angle was not that guy. Kurt Angle was the total package. Somebody who, didn't watch wrestling, I don't think, growing up. He was a gold, won gold medals. Jumped. He was supposed to go to ECW. Did not like what they did. It was I think they put someone on I don't know if it was Sandman or whomever, but they put him on a cross, and he was like, I'm done. I don't want to be here. And he left. Went to WWF, and it was like putting on, riding a bike. It was easy for him. He picked it up faster than anybody. And then and then he wanted to be the babyface. He was supposed to be a babyface, but he was so naturally a heel because it's so easy to hate, and he killed it. I mean, he could be corny, he could be badass, he could be scary in regards of, like, and you think about the wrestling machine, Kurt Angle, or when Stone Cold was on, when Stone Cold was trying to be the funny heel, and of course Kurt Angle being funny with his little cowboy hat and everything. He could do all those things. He was the total package. So he is one of my favorite wrestlers. And again, I hate the way to end it out for him. I wish he would have had that one last great match, especially with someone he would have wanted to do it with. I did watch some of his last matches because he had a little bit of a run, but they were like 2-minute matches. It was AJ, Kurt, Samoa Joe. They kind of ran it back, but you could tell he was done. It wasn't the same Kurt, but Kurt Angle was one of the greatest of all time because he was the total package. And, when you think about, people go, oh man, he was a great he was great. He was a great WWE guy, but his career in WWE was way too short. His career in TNA was a lot better, and he was in his prime in TNA. So when you think about Kurt Angle's greatest rivals, Kurt Angle's Sinister Six, it was not as easy as I thought it would be. So who are Kurt Angle's Sinister Six?
Ooh.
Man, if you think about the lineup of guys that you could roll with this,
it's too hard.
It is very freaking hard.
It's too hard.
I mean,
I spent about 3 hours this morning, today, watching Kurt Angle matches, watching Kurt Angle feuds, watching Kurt Angle video packages, watching Kurt Angle just because I had a list of like 8 people right? And I'm like, okay, I gotta knock two off. I just have to. I gotta get it down to six. And I came up with my six, and I got them all right here. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot more TNA guys I thought I was gonna have, and there was a
Mm,
lot more WWE guys than I thought I was gonna have. But with that being said, is I didn't expect these guys as my final. So I'm gonna start with the most obvious one that I think we're both gonna have, and that's Brock Lesnar.
yeah.
It's the most obvious on one, but you can't have Brock Lesnar without Kurt Angle. You cannot write WWE history without this feud. This was very important to the WrestleMania matches, King of the Ring matches, SummerSlam, basically everything. And it was a perfect blend of the Beast incarnate, like the ultimate athlete, the ultimate WWE superstar, really, in Brock Lesnar. The only thing he couldn't do was cut a promo, versus Kurt Angle, the actual machine. And those two just, but like the chemistry between those two was just there. It was just perfect. So I don't know, man. What was my favorite match of them overall was probably the one where Lesnar tried to do the shooting star press at
WrestleMania
WrestleMania. Was it?
2019?
I think it was 19. It was the same one, I
WrestleMania
believe.
19.
Yeah, it was the same one where I think Chris Jericho wrestled Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
right after. It was after Jericho versus Triple H. It was the year after. So it was Brock versus Kurt, WrestleMania 19, and he did the shooting star press and bent his neck out of shape. I mean, but anyway, Brock Lesnar, like, I think that's a very easy answer. I mean, if you again, you can't say Kurt Angle without Brock Lesnar, and I don't think you can say Brock Lesnar without Kurt Angle. If there was any one superstar, any wrestler who could match up pound for pound, basically in the ring with Brock Lesnar, it was Kurt Angle. We know Brock is bigger, right? But suplex machine, wrestling machine. I mean, if you would give me Brock Lesnar, when he came back to WWE, that the Beast incarnate, and you would give me prime Kurt Angle, TNA version wrestling machine Kurt Angle, that would sell out pay-per-views. That would be 5-star every day. And they were. I mean, again, you watched them, you were watching a clinic, but you also were watching brutality, mentality, like clean, everything about their matches were great, and their feud was great. Because again, Kurt Angle, you look at him, face to face, you're like, oh, there's no way Kurt Angle would beat this guy. And then you watch in the ring, you go, wait a second. Holy shit. So yeah, Brock Lesnar 100% is a part of Kurt Angle's Sinister Six, and I think number one easy. I mean, I want to rank them, but if you were to rank them, Brock would probably be number one in my opinion.
Yeah, and Angle was just a perfect heel in that matchup. Had his A team with him, I believe, right? Charlie Haas was with him, Shelton Benjamin.
Yep.
I just watched a lot of Angles. Trust me, guys, I watched a lot of Angles today, and you miss a lot of these stories. These stories weren't better back then. They were just you just remember.
They were fun.
Oh, yeah.
They were fun. That's what it was. It was fun. I remember watching those things. And again, I don't know what it is about now, but like some of that stuff happens now. You're kind of like, come on, dude.
For example, the biggest thing was, Kurt Angle was with Paul Heyman, and Brock Lesnar, was able to choose. If Brock Lesnar won a certain match, he was able to choose a member of Team Angle, and if he beats that member in a cage match later that night, he gets Kurt Angle the very next week on Raw. He picks Paul Heyman, right? But the whole match was Paul Heyman in the cage match, but Angle was in the cage match as well because it's no disqualification, and it was Kurt Angle trying to help Paul Heyman escape, not beat up Brock Lesnar. It was Paul Heyman trying to get out of the cage the whole time. Kurt Angle just trying to beat up Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar beating up Kurt Angle while maintaining Paul Heyman. Eventually, Brock Lesnar wins F5, 1, 2, 3. And then we get the match next. I'm telling you, these things on YouTube are perfect. You watch the whole feud, every angle, every segment. Just YouTube any people you want to watch. It's got it. And it's like the very next week on Raw, it's like, oh, they have their title match. Holy crap. Well, fake Kurt Angle comes out with a hood.
His brother.
Brock Lesnar, his brother beat. They do the gimmick where they get distracted. They switch places. Boom, Kurt Angle rolls them up 1, 2, 3. That doesn't happen anymore. If there's an advertised title match on Raw or SmackDown, it's automatically ends in DQ. There's no angle to it. It's there's a run-in every single time. There's nothing cute like there used to be back in the day. That's all. Anyway.
Uh, number two. Who do you have at two? Or who's your next guy? I don't want to say number two, but who's your next guy?
This one, again, they're all pretty easy. So
They are.
I
I
went
mean, it's hard, but it's easy.
I went with Lesnar as the top WWE guy. So I'm gonna go the top AEW guy, TNA guy. I'm gonna go Samoa Joe. I'm gonna go Samoa Joe because I remember where I was when I was watching Kurt Angle's debut on TNA, and he headbutted Joe, and it busted open the hard way. It felt like, maybe it wasn't, whatever. In my mind at that moment, I was like, whoa, we have one of the best and the best companies. And I was already watching TNA. I was already watching TNA at the point, and I already liked Joe. And I'm like, wow, now we have Joe and Kurt Angle. This right here is going to blow TNA up, and we're about to get wild. And it did. It did. TNA went crazy after Kurt Angle arrived, and he had moment after moment with Samoa Joe. Again, that Joe will even tell you, Joe became a superstar when Kurt Angle came into his life. That changed Joe's life. That alone can tell you that, yes, Joe and Kurt Angle mixed with AJ Styles, which I'm sure we'll get to later, really, really were the definition of TNA. They really were the heart and soul, the pillars. AEW likes to say they have pillars. No. TNA had pillars. And Kurt Angle was the freaking foundation and the pillars.
TNA was famous for every time somebody was available, they'd show up on TNA television. Oh my gosh, it's so and so, and it never would work out. They do one match and they were gone, and and don't get me wrong, me, I'm a nostalgic guy. I loved it all. I would love to see Scott Hall and then Nash and then Booker T and then Steiner and those guys, and they were some of them lasted. They didn't, but they didn't have the impact, no pun intended, that Kurt Angle had. Kurt Angle went on TNA television and became a staple. Like when there was that famous Samoa Joe moment where Scott Hall didn't show up. And I don't know if you got to see that, but when he did a promo in the ring and Kevin Nash was in the ring with him, and it was Kurt Angle was out in the ramp. And Samoa Joe cut a promo on Scott Hall and these wrestling veterans who would come into TNA just to get a paycheck, but they didn't care. They weren't the AJ Styles of the world. And I remember he said he made some kind of comment, and Scott he looked at Kevin Nash, and Kevin Nash grabbed his junk, and kind of like even though they're tag partners, but Joe was pissed. And I just remember that moment because Kurt Angle, when he said about wrestling veterans or whatever coming from outside the business and coming here just take up spots. I remember Kurt Angle was like, me? No, not you. I mean, they're not the Samoa Joe, but no, not you. You're the difference. Right. He was a staple. Like you said, he was a foundation, and he kind of helped boost them up. Of course, Samoa Joe got smacked in the face by Kevin Nash in the back. That's a whole other story. But, from the very first headbutt of Kurt Angle when he showed up to TNA, he showed up when Samoa Joe was there. Samoa Joe was in the ring. Kurt Angle showed up, headbutted Samoa Joe. I think Samoa Joe was undefeated. He had never been beaten up to that point. And then they had the match at Genesis and matches after. And, I think they had the MMA style match. There was a lot of memorable moments and a lot of memorable matches between Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe. Again, if you have not seen a match with those guys or have seen a moment with those guys, go watch it. There's a lot of TNA footage on YouTube. And again, if you're a wrestling fan or if you're a Kurt Angle fan, you need to do yourself a favor and go check out Kurt Angle's TNA run. All the matches, but specifically Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle. That was magic. Again, you think about Brock and Kurt Angle, anytime you put those two together, you're going to have a great match. Joe and Angle are going to put good matches. So
I watched the match today. I watched the full match. It was Christopher Daniels, Joe, Kurt Angle, and AJ Styles in a ladder match. And at one point, Joe and Kurt Angle were just beating up Christopher Daniels. Suplex, okay, I'll suplex him. T-bone suplex, okay, I'll T-bone. Like they were just doing it one after another to Christopher Daniels. At that point in their TNA career, they already gained respect for one another. So it's pretty cool to see. Yeah, Joe and Kurt Angle, top tier TNA rivalry of all time, probably.
So you and I are right on the money in regards of two names that are on the list. They're not rank specific, but I think we're right on the money. So I'd love to know who you have. Who's the next guy on your list?
All right, this one. I'm going back to WWE.
What's up, Justin? Good to see you, brother. DSG still there. Good to see you, my man. Adrian, okay, got it. I got it. I love it. He has them names in there. Daniel Pewter, Big Show. Daniel Pewter, what a dude. Anyway, we're gonna go. Kurt Angle was better than Bret Hart, all around,
sure.
around. Bret Hart is Bret Hart, right? There ain't no doubt. People will say Bret Hart's one of, but come on, Kurt Angle all around was way better than Bret Hart. I'm with you, Maria. I think that's an awesome take. Love Bret Hart, but just saying. But
Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle. I think this is another layup. Kurt Angle himself says the best match he's ever wrestled was against Shawn Michaels
21
at WrestleMania. And it was an excellent match. And that was another 30 minutes of my life today that I watched again. And I watched another 30 minutes of my life on WWE Vault, where they had a little mini 30-minute documentary on that whole match. And wow, the fact that if you haven't seen it, it's like 30 minutes. Just look up WWE Vault. They have Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle both talk about that match. And Kurt Angle's like, he walked up to me before the match, like a week before the match, said, "I'm not scared of you." It's like, that's freaking awesome. Like, that's just awesome. There's so many great matches, especially now we're in 2025, and you watch AEW Forbidden Door, and Maria will tell you that every match is a 5-star match, and Okada this, no this. But then you go back and look at the greats, like the actual greats, not the gymnasts of today, the actual greats of Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle, and you watch that full 30-minute match, and you see, like, you watch the match and you watch the documentary, and you go, "Oh wow, they were mat wrestling to show you that Shawn Michaels can't hang with him." And then Shawn finally figures it out. Like, you don't notice that thing when you're watching it live, probably.
What's the difference between? Because you're right, there are a lot of great in-ring competitors who could put on a 4 to 5-star match. You go, my goodness, the technical skills, the in-ring, the gymnasts, whatever, what do you call it, the flippity flues. There's a lot of good guys out there that could do all that. But what's the difference between those guys and Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels' match? Can you say that?
The only thing I can tell you is, every time Shawn Michaels had a high spot, or Kurt Angle put someone in a finisher, something mattered. It was going to mean something. When Shawn Michaels was trying not to get German suplexed from the apron onto the floor, and then turned it around to some crazy springboard crossbody onto the table, like, that was a move of desperation. That meant something. It wasn't like, "Hey guys, I'm about to do a cool flip. Everybody watch me. And guess what? I'm going to get right back up from it and do it again." Because that's what we see in 2025 from both promotions. I don't want to just pick up one. But
No. Yeah.
But this match was everything you needed in a WrestleMania match. And on top of that, the build up into it was him doing the sexy boy thing with Artett, with Sherry, right? With Sensational Sherry.
Yeah.
With him doing all that fun stuff. Everything about the build up was there too. So the match was there, the buildup was there, and honestly, it was what pro wrestling should be. It had the comedy, the seriousness, and the match.
And here's the difference: storytelling.
Yeah, storytelling.
The mentality. Again, the emotion mixed with the technical skill of those two guys, and the matches the way their chemistry was together in the ring. That's the difference. There are two nowadays, and I won't say any kind of comparison, or any kind of company, but I'll say this generation of superstars that could do those type of matches. They just want to go in the ring and do the match. And it's like, let's go out there and do the best match possible. Let me no sell this, and let me no sell that, and let me do this, and let me know that. Where Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels showed you, or like that's a blueprint for this generation's wrestlers. And I am no selling the shit out of what they're saying. And I will get to their comment in a second, Adrian and DSG. I see you guys in there. I'm just trying to sell my point first, brother. I don't give a damn. Milk. Bobby was so turned on by that milk truck. Guzzle, guzzle. Coat my throat with that leche. It was like the milk. The milk. 9 months later, Junior was born. That's right.
Yep.
But that's the difference between then and now. between the legitimate greats to these guys now. That's what's the quote we're talking about. No, that's what, when I say, like, Bobby, people tell me, Bobby, those guys are amazing. And I watch those guys, and yeah, they could be amazing. But I could watch a Kurt Angle Shawn Michaels match or an AJ Styles Kurt Angle match, and I would enjoy the hell out of that match. And those guys could do that match. Those guys that you're trying to make me watch can do that match. But what's the difference between those guys and these guys? These guys know how to tell a story in the ring. These guys are just doing moves. They're doing the trampoline thing in the back. Just a bunch of moves. No story told by it. At least that's a good shot of me frozen up.
Are you frozen? I figured, I don't know if I was frozen or you were frozen, but yeah,
you're frozen up.
You're aggressive looking, but it's all right.
It's my face when I'm thinking about Lich when I'm thirsty.
So we have three more people, or possibly more, to speak about. I'll get into the next guy, and I'll make another easy one, because the two, my fourth or my fifth and sixth are kind of questionable, and we'll see. And I'm by myself until he returns. But I'm gonna go AJ freaking Styles, of course, because his TNA run is linked with Samoa Joe, with Christopher Daniels, with, of course, Christian Cage and Kurt Angle. I'm curious to see if Bobby's gonna have Christian Cage on his list or not. I personally don't. Just spoiler alert, since he left and he's not here to rebuttal that or know that. But AJ Styles, of course, TNA Slammiversary, Kurt Angle and AJ Styles had a great TNA World Heavyweight Championship match. I do think that AJ Styles, if we saw, and we did see the older version of AJ Styles versus Kurt Angle later on, but I wish we had that back then, I guess, because Kurt Angle was in his prime, and time, age difference, that kind of stuff happens. But what we are doing with this Kurt Angle exercise is, I guess, they're Sinister Six in their promotion. So I do have 3 TNA and 3 WWE guys. Man, I really wish Bobby was here, because he could bounce back with me on these things, because I know that he wants to talk AJ Styles, so I don't really want to get into it too much. But so I'm going to fill time with this, because I have these things that we didn't talk about yet. Kurt Angle, I don't want to talk about these things without Bobby. That's the truth. Because we'd have to repeat the whole thing over again. But did you guys know that Kurt Angle was a 6-time TNA World Heavyweight Champion, 2-time TNA Tag Team Champion? He's a TNA X Division Champion. He is a 4-time WWF Undisputed Heavyweight Champion. He is a WCW, right? WCW United States Champion. So maybe he can challenge Chris Jericho with that record that he has. He is a WWF European Champion. That's right. He won the European Champion. He is a WWF Hardcore Champion, a WWF Intercontinental Champion, a WWF World Tag Team Champion. Yes, he is well-versed and knows how to wrestle. He's also a 3-time, he's an IWGP third belt champion. These are all things I wrote down in preparation, just in case Bobby's camera went out. We were talking AJ Styles, but I didn't want to talk about AJ Styles without you. So I'm like, hold on, I got a bunch of accolades here. Guys, just let you know, I have a whole paragraph written to introduce this segment, but Bobby just took over. Can I read that right now? I prepared.
Read it. Yeah, read it. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. And today we're diving deep into the legacy of one of the most complete athletes to ever lace it up. A pair of boots. A man who didn't just wrestle for gold. He lived it, breathed it, and made it his destiny. I'm talking about the wrestling machine himself, the Olympic hero, Kurt freaking Angle. From breaking into the business in 1998 to officially hang it up in 2003, Kurt Angle racked up championship resume that almost untouchable. And then I read his accomplishments. Kurt Angle didn't just collect titles. He redefined intensity, precision, and what it meant to be a true wrestling technician. And tonight, we're counting down the Sinister Six. The 6 defining rivalries that define and capture the ruthless, brilliant, and sometimes downright unhinged side of Kurt Angle's career. So buckle up, because when it's true, it's damn true. It's time to talk Kurt Angle.
There it is. There it is. There you go, brother. Oh man. I heard you as I was coming out, and then I don't know what happened. As soon as I came out, I couldn't turn my mic on, my camera couldn't turn on. I was like, oh damn, okay, I'm gonna have to go through my phone. But glad that I was there. And look, man, you could have done without me. You didn't need you could have just kept going. But you brought up AJ Styles, and again, you and I are 4 for 4 right now with our Sinister Six, because again, AJ Styles, one of the pillars of TNA. You know, you think of Samoa Joe, AJ, what's that, Jeff Jarrett, right? I guess Jeff Jarrett would, yeah, he is. Christopher Daniels. You know, there's a lot of names you could throw out there. But and Kurt Angle, when he got there, those were the two main guys he went after. And you can't say Kurt Angle again in TNA, especially his TNA run, without AJ Styles. Or you just can't say that in general, because when Kurt Angle returned to WWE, everybody was like, I want to see Kurt Angle and AJ. And they got it, but of course it was short and whatever, because Kurt Angle couldn't hang anymore. And that's okay. It happened.
I brought that up when you were gone.
Oh, there you go. But you know, Hard Justice, TNA, if you guys want to watch an amazing match, you want to see two guys absolutely you kill it. You think of Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, go check out Kurt Angle versus AJ Styles. You know, two skill sets that blend perfectly. Like you said, Samoa Joe, it did boost Samoa Joe's career. It also boosted AJ Styles. It made it put AJ, even though AJ was on the map within that fan base, AJ versus Kurt Angle threw him on in the national stage, where people started recognizing, so much so eventually when he made his debut in WWE, and people, you know, in the McMahons of the world were like, I don't know if people are going to really know who he is. The crowd popped, and it started with wrestling against maybe the best in the ring, Kurt Angle.
Yep. Hard. So this next guy,
rock hard, brother.
I've been going first this whole time. Who's your fifth? Your fifth of the Sinister Six?
Man, you know, I'm surprised we haven't gone one guy, but I'm not surprised why I didn't do it, because I've so many other guys. But I know we'll probably bring him up off later if we haven't mentioned him yet. But I am gonna say Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero is absolutely, going back to WWE, is one of those Sinister Six, and again, not just in ring, but storytelling, the emotion part of it, you know, the build up, and, you know, the stories outside the ring, the fights in the locker room. You know, these two guys loved and hated each other, you know, and they were always trying to compete against each other about who was the better in-ring guy. Eddie Guerrero is one of those other guys. Eddie Guerrero, when you look at him, God rest his soul, you know, you look at him compared to the what you perceive, if you're not a legit wrestling fan, what you perceive to be a wrestler, you look at, you know, prime Hogan, and you're like, oh, or Batista, that's a wrestler. Brock Lesnar, that's a wrestler. You look at current Eddie Guerrero, you're like, no, not really. But Eddie Guerrero was the definition of all around. He was great on the mic. He was great as a character. He could be a good guy. He could be a bad guy. He could be in the ring. He was as close to Kurt Angle as all around great as anybody. Right or wrong. I mean, I think Eddie Guerrero was everything you want in a superstar, everything you would want in a wrestler. I mean, so when those two finally went head to head, it was magic. So, you know, and the match at WrestleMania 20, the shoe, the build up to that match, it's everything. I roll with Eddie Guerrero, man. That's my fifth guy.
All right.
Did we finally break apart?
Yeah, we did, because I'm gonna go with someone that we don't talk about, and it's hard to find footage.
There it is. I just brought him up.
Yeah, I know you did, and that's why I had to counter with it, because I'm gonna pick Chris Benoit. You know, growing up, I'm not ashamed to say it, because I can't change what happened.
No, you can't. You know, you should be. I get it.
WCW days, Chris Benoit was one of my guys. Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, like that was my era. Chris Jericho, those were my guys. And it was really, really cool to see Chris Benoit finally make it on the big stage and get a chance and wrestle guys like Triple H and Kurt Angle. And it was enjoying. Right? Even today, I was watching in the Brock Lesnar package of his whole 45-minute rundown of that whole feud. Chris Benoit was in there a lot, because Chris Benoit was just coming off of a feud with Kurt Angle. And it was this feud for the WWF Championship where he didn't win. He did not beat Kurt Angle. They did wrestle at WrestleMania as well. But it was so hard to find clips. So, you probably know it was so hard to find anything Chris Benoit related with Kurt Angle, but the minimum clips I could find, banger, banger. And I remember these matches because there were two great athletes, technical wrestlers that took it super serious. Watch any Kurt Angle documentary. It didn't. He took it. He even said it. WrestleMania is a Super Bowl. This is the biggest thing. Everything matters. Like he didn't care. Winning and losing obviously matters, right? But putting on the performance, not screwing up, being a professional out there mattered. And Chris Benoit thought the same way. Chris Benoit was on the same track, mental, like in the ring, in his profession. That's what he cared about. So of course they're going to put on banger matches after banger matches. Two of the greatest technicians that we've ever seen in the ring. So yes, it's hard to find their stuff. If you didn't watch it live, you're not going to be able to go watch it. But just know that Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle were magic, and they are on a lot of top lists for a reason because they are just two of the best. But we can't talk about them this day, and I know why, and we know why.
And again, I will say this. First off, I don't need to. It's good to go back and watch. I don't need to because I was there in regards of watching. I know how, and again, you know me. It's hard to separate the real life person from the character. Mm-hmm. But you know, I do that. I try to do that the best I can. I know it's hard. So I'm able to. I could watch or I could talk about Benoit without talking about what he's famous for now. I watched him growing up. I loved watching Chris Benoit growing up. It was one of the ones that was very hard not to pick in this list. Because again, Benoit's one of those guys where when you think of Kurt Angle, Benoit's automatically pops in your head. You think of that Royal Rumble match, you know, which there were a lot of them, but you think of that, and you think of two guys in the ring, the synergy, the chemistry, you know, like you said, two of the greatest technical wrestlers in the business in history going at it. What eliminated it for me was the story outside. Wasn't as believable, wasn't as intense, wasn't as real as what was in the ring. The in-ring story told a story. Their matches told a story. These guys were trying to be better than each other. These guys were trying to kill each other. These guys were putting moves that if, you know, you go, people that when you watched it, anybody who says wrestling is fake, when you watch that match, you're like, wait, is it fake? That's what they did. So I don't think it's a foul to put him in the Sinister Six. You're putting the character, you're putting the wrestler, you know, don't take, you know, what he did was, you can't eliminate what he did. That was horrible, terrible, whatever, you know, yes, not whatever, but, you know, but I think it's absolutely fair to put him in that list. And I struggled with putting him in this list, and I'm okay with putting Eddie over because again, the story before the match, the emotion of it felt real. Their rivalry was real. It's the same thing. You think about Eddie Guerrero, you know, I'd be hard pressed that like people might put a bunch of other guys in there. Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, right? You think Eddie Guerrero, those two, the friendship, the matches, the whatever. Even though they were best friends, you put Chris and Eddie Sinister, but JBL, you know, JBL's story with Eddie Guerrero. Think about, their matches weren't quote unquote great, but they were real. They felt real. And then storytelling, remember his mother in Mexico, giving her the heart attack and, all that. There was so much good stuff. So that's what I mean with that. And that's the Kurt Angle Eddie part of it. When Eddie would talk, even when Eddie did with Brock, but they would talk about the drug addiction and all this. And it felt real. It felt raw. It felt powerful. And then the story they told in the ring. No knock here. I love that you picked Benoit. I know, and I think it's absolutely fair. And it was really tough for me not to go that route. But that's where I took. It wasn't really the homicide. It was the before. They
right.
told the story in the ring, and they had great matches. But there was no story outside of it really. Except for you're going against Benoit. Oh crap! Because Kurt Angle was like, I got to go against this monster, which he was in the ring. Benoit's the short dude. He lights you up. I mean, he'd burn you out. So I love it. So it was hard because I'm like, man, okay, the number 6, because you go Eddie, then you go Benoit number 6. But I didn't go Benoit. I didn't go Benoit number 6. But I'd love to know who's your number 6.
Okay, this one's a cop out, but you can't think of and you know what? It's kind of true too. He's on people's list. Well, for me, it is because I'm using personal reasons to put him on my Sinister Six.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, we know. We already know. Karen Jarrett, formerly Karen Angle, filed divorce, obviously in from Kurt Angle in 2008. Married Jeff Jarrett August 21st, 2010. I mean, they were great rivals before that in the ring in TNA as well. The head booker, Jeff Jarrett, we all knew it at the time. He was super annoying. He was on top. He was the heel. He was super annoying as the booker and the heel, but it worked. People liked the gimmick. And Kurt Angle was always the person there as well. But really, you can't tell the story of Kurt Angle of wrestling without Jeff Jarrett. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
That Cole Karen Angle situation was bigger than any storyline that wrestling could tell. And then it did bleed into wrestling as well. But they did have awesome TNA matches for the World Heavyweight Championship. That can't be unsold. Like, they did have great matches. But I just put the personal touch because I can't always, because I still see Jeff Jarrett to this day. And every time I see Karen, I always think of Kurt Angle. Always. So that's a cop out. Like, there's no analysis behind this. There's no matches to go watch.
No, I think that's ballsy.
This is very important.
You know, I know Jeff Jarrett, his feud with Kurt Angle. Again, the reason why you think of that, or it's easy to think of, is Karen Angle, and that's raw, that's real. Again, that's like, damn, dude. Like, and so you have to think about their matches, but the way they were able to put personal aside and do business, that's really cool.
Let me put it this way: if we ever did Edge, which I know we will, Matt Hardy's going to be one of my Sinister Six.
Has to be.
And it's all because of Lita.
Has to be. Again, and you go TLC, you think about their tag matches together, and then exactly. Maria, I had earlier, Jeff Jarrett. She is Cena, AJ Styles, Triple H, Stone Cold, Brock Lesnar, and Jeff Jarrett. So she was with you on that. Adrian says Rey Mysterio. She put, and I'll tell you, Rey Mysterio. You think about Kurt Angle, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, the WrestleMania win for Rey, but you also think about that opening sequence. I think it's SummerSlam, Rey versus Kurt Angle. How great that was. So I think that's a fair call. I think Rey Mysterio is a good name to throw out there. My last one is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay. Fair.
I mean, Kurt Angle from the very beginning, when he got in there with Stone Cold, the matches they were able to put together, the stories they were able to tell, Kurt Angle as a heel, Kurt Angle as a babyface. I mean, together as kind of like a little tandem until they broke up. The comedy they brought outside the ring, you think about the Undisputed Championship. You think about, again, the little cowboy hat, kumbaya, you think about all those little moments, but also even though Kurt Angle was a heel when the invasion started, he was a heel. WCW, Ric Flair showed up and whatever. I think that was what it was. So no, that was right after. But anyway, he was a heel. And then when, before Austin had turned to WCW, Angle and him were together in WWE. They were buddies. And it wasn't until Austin went to ECW, WCW side where we saw babyface Angle. And it worked. Shout out to Stone Cold Steve Austin, who made it believable. But Angle, for the first time in his career, legitimately looked like a badass babyface. And that gave him his baby, because he was always the heel, and he was always you think about the stories with Triple H, the love triangle, and you could have put Triple H in there. You could have, right? That's absolutely in that conversation. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of story there. He's absolutely an honorable mention. But you think about all that, but he was a heel. He was always kind of, if it wasn't until Stone Cold Steve Austin joined WCW, ECW, where Angle finally turned babyface, and he was getting the Austin reactions when you hear Angle's music hit and you run down the ramp and crowd was going crazy. The milk, the leche shot, that I love, and I was like, pouring leche all over me, drinking the chocolate milk and all that. And, it was awesome, an awesome moment. Yeah, I did it. I hope you guys all loved it. It's like Double J. Stone Cold Steve Austin is my last one, but again, it's so freaking hard because you could go with Triple H, you could go with Jericho, you could go with the Undertaker. I mean, Undertaker and Angle had a lot of great matches. I mean, I think what was that match? It was when Undertaker was the dead man again. There was one. Oh God, I can't remember the PLE. That's pay-per-view. But anyway, Kurt Angle, Undertaker. Undertaker would be in there. You know, he could be in there. The Angle's had such an amazing career. Abyss, TNA, Abyss. You know, that's another one. There's so many great names. Edge, there's another one. You know, Batista. That's an interesting name. Batista's an interesting name. But that's my point. This was so hard because there's so many good answers. And I think we could make a conversation about any one of them. Judgment Day. Was it Judgment Day, Undertaker versus Kurt Angle? Either way, that there was a match with those two when Undertaker came back as the Dead Man. That was a phenomenal match. I mean, legitimate. Raven. You know, I want to go back and watch more of Raven's TNA run. I saw a couple matches when he was first in there. I have not gone back and watched. I know he has a documentary that just came out. I don't know if it's on Netflix or Prime, but I'm going to watch it because Raven is one of my underrated favorites. I loved it, Raven, growing up. You know, he was like he did not fit my criteria. You know, if you go, Bobby, who's your, you know, Macho Man, Hogan, Sting, and you know, like but Raven, Crow to Raven, Nevermore. Like WCW had so many young, good guys that could, you know, Jericho. He fit in that criteria. So I gotta look back on that, Anthony, before I give you a judgment on that. I want to see Kurt Angle and Raven. I'm gonna watch that later when I get a chance.
You know what I want to do? I want to go back and see Kurt Angle and his interaction not only with Raven, but I need to go back and see his more interactions with Abyss because I don't remember that as much as I would like to remember.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I would love to see if Kurt Angle and Christian Cage ever crossed paths to a high level. Like, was it extensive? Because I'm surprised that he didn't come up either because Christian Cage was on top and Kurt Angle was in his prime there.
Well, and I almost brought up Christian Cage, and not on my list, but just in conversation about it, because Christian Cage was another one of those guys like Angle. When he came over, he wasn't just a guy; he was a staple. That I think TNA, when Christian went to TNA, it made him from a tag partner because he was a singles guy in WWE, but he wasn't. Nobody bought it. Bought it. But it wasn't until he went to TNA where he became a main event player, and it was believable. And he had a very good run there in TNA, and that of course came back to WWE and now is in AEW and kills it over there as well. He's so, it's crazy how good he is, you know, especially on the mic. But man, this was fun. I really enjoy talking this and discussing Sinister Sixes, and you know, you start thinking about other guys. You go, crap, I didn't think of this guy.
Yep.
But that was a lot of fun, man.
I got our next week's guy already set up. I don't even like ask you. I just tell you at the end of the show, and then if you say yes, you say yes. If no, then it's all right, whatever. But I'm really interested to see your thoughts on one. Yes, we're going to WCW.
Oh,
Diamond Dallas Page.
His Sinister Six?
Yes.
Oh, that's fun. I love that.
I think we should go to Diamond Dallas Page. So that's what we'll be doing next week. So turn on your WCW nostalgia. We'll be talking some Diamond Cutters, Bang. When we'll be talking Dennis Rodman, maybe we'll be talking I don't know, all the stuff he was involved. Was he involved with Dennis Rodman? I can't remember. I think it was Karl Malone.
It was him and Karl Malone, and then him and Jay Leno. You know, dude, that's my bread and butter, brother. You know what I'm saying? You know, those were the days, bro.
So we'll be talking about Diamond Dallas Page, his matches with possibly Macho Man, Scott Hall, whoever, Undertaker, maybe. I doubt it, Undertaker. But go ahead and talk us out of here, Bobby.
Yeah, no, hey, I love that. DDP next week. We're gonna do that. Sinister Six for Diamond Dallas. Think about it, guys. Do some homework. You know, look at who might be there. I mean, I've already got some names in my head, but hey, I might come up with some. I'm gonna watch a lot of DDP this week, which I do. I'm a huge DDP guy. So appreciate everybody participating, watching. If you're watching the show after we're gone live, hit that like and subscribe button and put your comments who you think are Kurt Angle's Sinister Six. I'm Bobby. That's Josh. Like and subscribe. Elbow drop that subscribe button, and we will see you guys next Saturday. Peace. Strong bones for late.